At Indigo, we create soft, comfy, and breathable workout essentials for all women using sustainable and eco-luxury yarns. Our current range covers UK sizes 6 to 20. Inspired by rich island culture, our pieces are created with your curves in mind. Right now, the Relatable family can enjoy 20% off all purchases using the code Relateable at shopindigo.com. And don't forget, tag us in your selfies, #TribeIndigo. Welcome to the Relatable podcast, a safe space for open and honest conversations created for Black people.
This podcast explores how we relate to one another in our intimate connections, friendships, family, and everything in between. Hosted by 3 Caribbean women. I am Fiona, a single mom.
I'm Shaween, a very near empty nester.
And I'm Chantal, a free-spirited monogamist.
New episodes drop from June 9th, and you can find us wherever you get your podcast fix.
Relatable, because a shared journey brings hope.
Greetings, one and all, and welcome back from a very short hiatus. Forgive us, but life was lifing. But we are back, full effect, and we are enduring the hot as hell heat of London right now. It's like 1,000,000 degrees. But welcome to this week's episode of the Relatable podcast. And this topic is a doozy. Speaking about our fathers, our father, what in heaven?
You know, that's where I went in my head, Fiona. I was like,
right?
Lord's Prayer.
And today we're going to be starting off with Chantal's journey through daughterhood of a father, a Caribbean father. But before we jump into today's topic, let's have our little weekly check-in. Shaween, ma'am, starting off with you. How are you doing this week?
You're starting it for me, Boji. Okay. How am I doing? I'm doing really well, considering, like you said, Phil, life is lifing. I'm doing really well. 2 things, though. This sun is killing me. This sun is killing me. And I don't know if I've said that before, but Fiona, remember during independence celebrations at school?
Yes.
And we all used to go line up and queue up in the sun to sing. All schools. Yes.
In the park.
Yes.
In the park. Yeah, all the schools had to go and gather together and sing in a hot midday sun. And then you'd have to wait for whichever government official or whoever come, and then have your little send with your flags, and guaranteed there'd always be a child fainting. Guaranteed. Chantal, you didn't have that?
What? I'm just listening. I'm like, say what now?
So y'all didn't used to have like school rallies?
Yeah,
all the schools from the island come together and they have to sing or just for some event, and all of them outside?
I don't know if they do it now, but the only times that we would have to do that would be during our Independence Day celebration, and also for, if there was any like pomp and circumstance, people swearing in to government posts, or when the Governor General would be appointed. So things like that. But we never used to have like an inter-island school rally. I mean, we used to have our morning assemblies, I guess, but not standing up in the hot sun. They would be in the school hall, but still packed with all those teenage hormones. And, it used to be very hot. And every morning without fail, someone would pass out during school assembly from the heat. But no, I can't recall that we had like an actual inter-island school rally, people singing and reciting and, honorable this and honorable that. We love
my girl, as Fiona said, better believe every year you'd get a few children fainting. Who was one of these children? Me. Oh. Okay, I always used to drop. I always used to drop. And because I was one of the shorter ones, I always in front as well. So I just used to go down. And this is how I'm feeling. It is that hot.
Okay.
So I'm trying to make sure that I do not get to that point where I get heat stroke or something. Apart from that, I've had a really lovely week. Saw some old friends. We met up at a barbecue. I have to shout out Hilda. She was so amazing, so nice to see everybody. And also because I'm leaving, everybody's like, yeah, we have to meet up. We have to do this. So I have lots of plans coming up to meet up with everybody before I leave. So yeah, it's been good. It's been really, really nice. I don't know about you guys. How's your week been, Fiona?
I don't know. The week is kind of like a blur. I think the heat and everything, but it's just mainly getting ready for the launch of the World Reimagined. So I'm working with Shaween's daughter, Haley, who's an amazing artist. And I asked her to be part of a globe storytelling, and we're telling a St. Lucian story. And it's just having Haley here. And even just because the globe is in the backyard now. So we're just trying to like fine tune everything. And like in this globe, it's like there's a lot of detail. And it's actually nice to just sit down and take your time and add some of the small details. So it's taking quite a bit of time, but I think it almost feels like we're putting together a storybook because it has so many different facets to it. So that's nice. That's nice. It's also scary because, you know, it's like 3 years in the works of just doing this project and all the Zoom meetings, all the prep, and now it's coming out. And of course, because it is a project about slavery, we just expect a lot of opinionated opinions about it.
Right.
Like that.
You know, from both sides, and everyone has their own versions of how the story of slavery is supposed to be and how it's supposed to be told and who we engage and who we don't engage with or whatever. And of course, a lot of discomfort around the topic. So we expect a lot of high emotions, heightened emotions around it. So, and especially for people who don't understand, like, you know, people who don't read, just like they don't read the brief, they don't read the memo, they don't read nothing. They're just looking at things on face value. So it's a scary time, but a good time as well. I had a really good meeting with one of the sponsors today, and their response to the project and how that they wanted to continue in other countries as well was a great piece of encouragement for me to remember to think bigger as well. And not start thinking about the 1-2 critics, but thinking about the bigger scale of impact. So, yeah, that was that. Yeah, I think that was it. That's all I remember much else in the week. Huh? Chantal?
Hey.
Hey.
Hey. No, I mean, Fiona, I think when you're releasing any project, creative project out into the world, you know, there is that underlying like, oh my God, how is this going to be received? As well as the excitement, because like you said, it's something you've been working on for 3 years now. It's human to start to like, I wonder, is this going to be received the way it's intended? But at the end of the day, you can't control how it's received, right? You can't control anything. All you know is this was the intention, you put your best into it, and you just put it out into the world.
That's right.
But what you will know is that it will have impact in some way or the other. And those stories will be told, and they're being given a global platform in a really exciting and innovative way. So that's something that you definitely, all of you who have been working on this project, should be proud of. But yeah, how has my week been? You know, I'm still recovering. I'm exhausted still from the Mango Festival, which I helped to curate. When you're doing a project of that size and it's something that normally would have been planned and curated in a year, but because of the restrictions for COVID and not being sure, I was brought into the project literally to deliver it within 2 months.
Wow.
And I'm laughing as I say this, and it could be like still residue of hysteria. As my body is trying to recollaborate and get back to a good state of equanimity. So I've been doing a lot of self-care, a lot of body work therapy at the amazing Eden Life Rejuvenation Center. Plug. Wow. It's my friend's wellness business. And so been doing a lot of body work there. And one of them is actually, I can't remember the official name, but it's more about the recalibration of your brain and stories that are deeply embedded and trauma. So when you release trauma, it actually wipes you out. So I'm wiped out from Mango Fest, wiped out from all of this therapy that I've been doing. But my mom is here. My mommy is here. And I haven't seen my mom since I left the UK, because my mom is in the UK. She lives between the UK and Nevis. And so I haven't seen her since I left in February. And I haven't lived in a house with both my parents since my early 20s.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I've been living away for 20 years. And then before that, I was living on my own with my ex-husband, who was my husband at the time. So I haven't lived in a home and shared space with both my parents at the same time. And it is hilarious, okay? They crack me up. You know, first of all, my dad pretending that he wasn't excited that his wife was coming home was insane, okay? He's not excited, but whirling around the house and the garden, I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, you know, I just making sure that this, and this. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Good job.
You know,
up, making sure everything's
trying
nice.
to play it cool, right? Trying to play it cool. So that cracked me up. And then the day that we picked her up, the nervous energy around him, okay? This man is never on time. Let me tell you, he was ready 2 hours before, to go and pick her up. I'm like, but wait, what time mommy coming in again? So that was cute. And then when we picked her up, you know, he was so anxious because she flew into St. Kitts and then took a water taxi over to Nevis. And the water taxi is like 6 minutes, if that, because it's between the two nearest points between the islands, as opposed to if you're going from the capital of each island, Basseterre to Charlestown, it's around 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the ferry. But on the water taxi, it's like 5 to 7 minutes. And him waiting as each water taxi came in. Is she on that one? Is she on that one? And then when they reunited, it was so cute, guys. I'm like, oh.
That's so sweet.
It was really, really sweet. You know, my mom is very affectionate. Well, to her husband.
That's probably why it's lasted so long.
Right. But my dad is not. But to see him actually allow himself to be embraced by his wife was really beautiful. And it's just been nice. Like, my mom is an extrovert. And so I work downstairs in my space. And so in the mornings, I have my window open and the curtains pulled so that the natural light can come in. So my mom now knows what time, because I start working at 5 a.m. because I'm working with people in the UK. And so she waits until it's around 6 and she comes downstairs and walks past my window. She's either flashing me with her breast or flashing me with her bum to try and make me laugh whilst I'm in these really important meetings and I'm trying to ignore her. And yeah, so this is what it's like to live in a house with both my parents. So it's been funny, you know, just spending time with each of them, flinging myself on my mom's bed, at the end of my work day and just catching up. It's been nice. Yeah. So that's been my week.
That's nice. That sounds really, really sweet. And just, it's nice to know that they're still, even though you said he's not as affectionate, but it's still going really well. Yeah. After so long, and you could see you witnessing it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's a lesson and a reminder that about love languages. Exactly, you know, people show love in different ways. And my dad's way is providing and making sure, like, if I even mention one little thing, like in passing, like the next day it's in the house. And I'm like, what? And of course it's him. So yeah, people show love in their own languages. And it's really about taking that in and being aware. So someone may not, you know, I'm affectionate. I like to hug people and hold their hand and kiss them. But it's also appreciating that, you know, some people are not into that. And that's okay if they're showing you love very clearly in a different way that you understand. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about taking the time out to understanding people's love languages, and not everybody loves in the same way that you do. And then once you come to have the conversations with those people to understand, and for people to understand your way of giving love as well, can really ease up a lot of miscommunications.
Definitely.
Well. You know, because say like, you never hug me, but the person may have gone and done this, like inconvenience themselves to go and do this trip to go and pick up something very small and menial for you, just to make your life easier. So, you know, okay. So Chantal, ma'am, as we are entering into the today's topic, or, you know, this session, it's about fatherhood, or being daughters of Caribbean men and so on. And we really want to hear about your journey of daughterhood.
Do you?
Yes. Yes, that's what we're here for.
Okay, full transparency.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's funny because just before we started recording, those who, you know, are listening would not have heard us speak about that kind of almost hesitance. It's like talking about our moms, like, yeah, even though we know, like, speaking about our moms is not as simple, it's not a Hallmark card, but like our fathers, it was like, okay, all right. Yeah, you have to really dig deep into certain things that can be, you know, challenging, I should say.
For sure.
But yes, Chantal, I will hand it over to you to tell us about your journey of daughterhood.
Well, thank you so much, Fiona. So I'm going to be very transparent with our audience and our supporters. I was dreading these episodes. And the reason why I have not really been looking forward to these particular episodes is that I have a very complicated relationship with my fathers. And I say fathers because I have two. I have my birth father, who is the Jamaican side of my heritage. And I have my stepdad, who is the Nigerian side of my heritage. But I don't like to use that term stepfather because he's my father. I've been with him since I was 3 years old, right? So he is my father, but so too is my biological father. And this is where it gets very complicated, right? So let me just give you some context. My parents met in Manchester, and my mom at the time, I think, because they were together for 3 years before they had me. So yeah, she would have been, I guess, around 17. So my parents were together. My mom may have been around 17 when they first met. And my mom grew up in a really small town in Cheshire called Sale, which is, I guess they would call it the suburbs of Manchester, Cheshire. And my dad grew up in Moorside in Manchester, which is like the Brixton.
We know
right?
Moorside.
So from two very completely different upbringings. And my mom was completely taken with my father, and vice versa. My dad was an activist. He was a young activist. Him and his crew of Caribbean Black Panthers. You know, my godfather is from Grenada. My godfather is Gus John, who is a very prolific and well-respected professor and activist and advocate. You know, he very famously turned down the Queen's invitation to receive, I think it was an MBE or OBE or whatever, and wrote a letter and made the letter public. So that's the kind of crew my biological dad was rolling with. And my mom was just very sheltered and very la, 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 love is everyone, you know, just the very opposite. And they met and, you know, there was a connection and they worked together for quite some time before my mom got pregnant with me. And my dad, I think, was still in university at the time, finishing up his degree. My mom had finished hers, or was in between, but she also finished at some point. And my Nigerian parents were not happy that their 19-year-old daughter, not only was she pregnant, but she was pregnant for a Jamaican. I mean, No, sir, they didn't.
God.
Oh my God. And so they literally disowned her. And my mom moved from Sale to Manchester, and my Jamaican grandmother got an apartment for my parents. And so they had their own little apartments.
And so your grandparents were in Nevis, or they were in?
No.
They were in?
My grandparents were in England.
Right, okay.
Yeah, they were in Sale, in Cheshire. And so for her whole pregnancy, my mom didn't have the support of her mom and dad, right? And her siblings were banned from going to see her. I'm not sure they actually stuck to that. I believe that there was some sneaking out to go and see their big sis, because my mom is the eldest. And so, yeah, this is how I came into the world. And from everything that my mom said, my biological father was a very hands-on dad. When I was born, he was the one bathing me, changing Pampers. My mom suffered from postpartum depression, which was picked up very quickly by their social care worker. And so he also picked up on it. And so he was very hands-on. If I was sick, he would be the one to nurse me back to health. I mean, even when she was pregnant with me, he started to read to me immediately. Like the minute they realized that my mom was pregnant, she said every day that man would either have a newspaper or a book, and he was reading to me. Wow. So she would joke with people and say, Shani came out of me knowing how to read, because I actually learned to read quite early. I was considered an early reader. And she definitely attributes that to my father. But so, my parents were young, and they like to call me their love child, but they were young. And so the relationship broke down. And when that happened, my mom decided that she was going to come to Nevis and just try and see what she could do. Because she, at that point, I think, had a degree in hospitality management and other qualifications. And so she was like, you know what? I'm going to take my child. I'm going to go to Nevis. And she did. And she was young. She was like 21. And it wasn't easy for her. The Caribbean, even back then for returnees, wasn't the most welcoming place. Oh, she thinks she big. Gosh, she studied in the Bahamas and she studied in England or whatever, right? And so it wasn't the easiest of times for her, but she did it. And I think, I'm not sure of the reasons, but she then moved back to England. And then at another point, we came back, and that's where she met my stepdad. So I would have been around 3.5. And, he was back then like one of the island's most eligible bachelors. He used to have these big Yamaha motorcycles and, yeah, man, his big afro and whatnot. And he was a young entrepreneur and young businessman, made good for himself. He'd moved from, and y'all gonna laugh, he'd moved from the countryside in Nevis. He'd moved from Gingerland to Charlestown and had built his own house at a very young age. He had this beautiful house in the early 70s, and which he was very proud of and which he worked really hard for. And then along comes my breathtakingly beautiful mother with a child, with somebody else's child, and he was smitten. And he took on this child as if this child was his own, right? They had a long distance relationship up until I remember him coming to England and spending the summers with us. And there were times my mom would send me down to Nevis, and I would be floating between his house, my second mother's house, Janet Paris, who you guys know I was very heartbroken about. She passed away last year. And between my great-grandmother, my great-grandfather, it was really a beautiful time for me in that regards, where I just was bouncing from home to home during the summer in Nevis. But my stepdad was my main caretaker. So I would be on the back of his bikes with him, these big Yamaha bikes. Listen, oh my goodness. And, he was an insurance man at the time. And so every Tuesday we would have to drive through the island. And the fun memories that I have are that people would say to him, man, Wellington, your daughter looking more and more like you every day. And he would watch me and wink and say, yeah, man, it's the eyes.
Oh, but God, that's so sweet. That's
the eyes.
Sweet.
It's the eyes, man. We have the same eyes. And he would just watch me and, do that mouth shrug that we do. That thing like, yeah. So up till this day, there's a lot of people in Nevis who don't know that he's my stepdad. They think that he's my biological father. But the reason why I say it's beautiful and, it's complicated in that even having, because my biological father was not present in my life. So after my mom, decided to leave him, he decided, it was his decision not to be in my life. Even though my mom would always make sure wherever she was in the world with me, she let him know. Shani's going to be in Nevis for 9 months. Shani's back in Leeds. And so my grandmother, my Jamaican grandmother, was very much in my life. My aunts, my Jamaican family were in my life, everyone except my father, right?
Wow.
And so there is that. And then to complicate matters, I never called my stepdad dad, because he asked me at one point. He said, because people were saying, oh, you should call him Uncle Wellington. But my mom's like, he's not her uncle. Like, what? He's not her uncle. So no. And then he asked me, which I always really respected that about him. And I must have been around 7 or 8. Again, it was in between Nevis and the UK. And he said, well, Shani, what do you want to call me? I said, I like calling you Wellington, because I really liked the name. And, for a child, it's just like, and he said, okay, well, then that's what you call me. And so that's what I call him. And people would make me feel uncomfortable about that, but that was our relationship. And I understand now that it wasn't for anyone else to query, because in speaking to other stepchildren, they too call the step parent by their name.
Yeah.
But it's understood that you are my father, you are my child, my son or my daughter, because that's their relationship. And it doesn't take away from that. But what I realize now is that there's a part of me that wishes that I could call someone dad, because I don't know how that feels. Like, I don't know. Like, I refer to my stepdad as my dad. Like in conversation, if someone were to say something, I said, oh yeah, my dad is home, right? Or someone, like, sometimes he passes by during my Zoom work calls and someone will say, oh, who's that? I'm like, oh, it's my dad. So it's not that I don't know or view him as that, but that's not what I name him. Yeah. And so that's always been that's one of the complications. And I know that my stepdad loves me. Like, I don't question that. I know that for a fact. Like, that is a fact for me. I love him. That is also a fact. But there is still something that I have missed as a child growing up. Like, I see almost the rapport that he has with my sisters. And although we are close, because I had him to myself for the first 12 years of my life. Yeah, because there's a 12-year difference between my second sister and myself. But I remember his excitement when my mom was pregnant, because this would be his first biological daughter.
Child, right.
Right. And I was definitely hurt. I was definitely hurt by it, because it reminded me that I wasn't his.
Yeah.
To see his excitement, and of course he should be excited and filled with joy, because that's his first biological daughter. So why wouldn't he be with his wife? Right. But it definitely, and I always felt that she was treated differently, and showed love in a different way. And so as a stepchild, you realize almost that there is a limitation. There is a limitation to just maybe not the love, but the connection.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's not about the love, but the connection, I think. Yeah. But the thing, what I will say is that, the thing is, when you met your stepdad, is when you were 3, and a lot of those memories which you could have had, like I always feel sad that some of the period of a child's life where we love them the most and dote on them the most, they don't remember. It's, I guess it's like a latent memory in your subconscious, but like, you know, like as a baby, you just there kissing them how much and hugging them and doing all these things for them. And then as they get older, we stop doing all of that. It makes you feel sad that they don't remember that. They don't remember how loved they were. Who's to say that, you know, he wasn't that way with you? Of course, there's a different feeling because of a biological child. And that's that's his first time having that experience from the very beginning. You know, the whole pregnancy, birth, first step, first whatever, all of those things. But that's not to say that he did not have a lot of those very intimate moments with you from the time you were 3.
I definitely remember some. Oh, for sure, Fiona. You know, I remember having a lot of fun with my stepdad, like fun. Okay. At the time, he used to make the most amazing banana daiquiris, right? and our house at Croddock Road had in like all these like mango tree, golden apple tree, soursop, and he used to throw down in the kitchen. And so this is the thing, like my stepdad taught me how to sew. He taught me how to iron clothes. He taught me how to make banana daiquiris. Yes, he did. He taught me how to make a badass tuna salad, lobster salad, breadfruit salad. Like most of people think it's my mom who taught me mostly how to cook, but it's actually my stepdad. Right? Wow. And we had lots of fun, like I said, going through the island on the back of his Yamaha, you know, and my dad attracted a lot of the neighborhood kids into his garden, and he would take them under his wing and teach them like how to fix bikes and how to do this, because he's very hands-on. And so from that, I have the blessing of a lot of men who are a little bit older or maybe my age who I can count on, because we built that relationship from them being around my dad and the respect that they have for him. So if I'm in a pinch and maybe need a ride home, I know I can call this person or that person because of my dad, you know, and there's this respect that they have for me that maybe I wouldn't have been afforded if it weren't for him, sad to say. You know, but that's the truth. And so, you know, even in high school, like memories of him picking me up and taking me, you know, we would do like lunches. He would take me out to lunch instead of me going home sometimes. Like he would pick me up. There used to be this place called Caribbean Confections in town. They would do the best sandwiches and the best local drinks. And it would be me.
1 second, I need to say something. All right.
Yes.
Through my time of knowing you, you just make like Nevis sound like they have the best, like everything.
They do.
Best juice, best fruit, best sandwiches, best pies, best tamarind balls, best everything, bread. Like you are honestly the culinary ambassador for Nevis, because the way you just describe things about, but even if it's the same red soft drink we're drinking in St. Lucia, you just make the Nevis one sound so nice.
Man, I can't wait for you guys to come to experience.
We are coming.
Listen, a few of my friends who have come from London, they're like, yo, the food in Nevis is next level.
Okay.
Even like what we would call a shabin, even the little shabin that just sell like $50 bread and salt. Well, although the $50 breads, they're no longer $1. But, you know, with salt, fish or whatever. It's the best $50 bread and saltfish you would ever have. And then you compare that to dining at Luna, which is so beautiful. And then the Four Seasons or wherever, and everything in between, like the mom and pops, restaurants and cafes. Yo, the food in Nevis is a problem. It's actually a problem.
You know what you should do? What's it they call? Was it ASMR? Like Chantal should do an ASMR episode. Just talking about, and the Luna is so beautiful. It has the best golden apple juice you'll ever have.
Oh my God.
The way it quenches your thirst on a hot Caribbean afternoon is like no other. People will be like, yes.
And you hear the sounds, right? I think that's another project that Fiona has just landed in my lap.
Do it, Do it. Anyways, Caribbean Delights did the best.
Sorry. Yes. So we would go to Caribbean Confections for lunch. And it was just, we had a really beautiful time before the arrival of my sisters. And that's not to say that we didn't continue, but also the arrival of my first sister coincided with me going into puberty. And I remember there was a shift in the way that we related to one another because, of course, my dad hadn't experienced, a girl going through puberty before, right? And so all of a sudden, his little pal is starting to be not so much little anymore, and hormones and being moody and developing. And it became awkward. Our relationship became very awkward. He was no longer as affectionate with me. I remember once I went into town in some shorts, and by the time I came back, somebody had called him and said, "Oh, it's Johnny in town in a pair of shorts." And he's like, "Well, it's hot. What's she supposed to wear?" But still, I sensed that he was like, maybe she shouldn't wear shorts anymore. So it was a learning curve for him in terms of transitioning our relationship to one where he's now dealing with a teenager. And so I do remember that there was a little bit of not a rift, but it felt different. And then to compound that, my first sister was born. And so, of course, not all of his attention, but his attention was on her and his first biological daughter. And I'm pretty sure, again, I felt like, see, I'm not really a part of this family.
No.
Because this family is now my mom, my dad, and their child. Right? So I'm no longer really a part of that unit. And that's how I felt. It may not have been the truth, but that is definitely how I felt. And so our relationship definitely shifted. And then I went on into, young adulthood. And, there were things, I guess, where I felt that I could more deal with my mom than him. And so then again, just a bit more, we became more separate and no longer, Shani and Wellington, because that's how people saw us. It was Shani and Wellington. Everywhere you go, Shani and Wellington, but that changed, right? And so I do remember missing that closeness and that connection and thinking, well, wow, I'm not getting it from my biological father, and now I'm not getting it from my dad. And so I felt dadless, because my biological father, even though my mom never uttered a bad word about him, I know I mentioned this in the mothering episode, that she was determined for me to formulate my own opinions about him and my own relationship. And he really made no attempts. I had more connection with who then became his ex-wife, my brother and sister's mom, Cindy, than I did with him. Imagine. Right? So now I'm at this point, young adulthood, I'm moving out, I'm getting married. And when I look back, I do believe that the reason why, or one of the reasons that I craved that unit was because, as they like to say, daddy issues. I wanted to feel the complete love and connection to a man who looked out for my welfare. And I didn't feel that I was getting that anymore from my dad. And I definitely never got that from my biological father. And it wasn't until I think I was visiting. One of my aunts in England was getting married. And so I flew to England. I think it was around 1920. So before I met who would then become my husband and now ex-husband, I flew to England, and my Jamaican grandmother let my father know, look, Shani's going to be here. You need to make an effort and go and see your child. So this is me at 19. And, so arrangements were made, and he called, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to take the train into Leeds, meet me at the train platform, and then we can go out and let's talk about your plans for university and how I can help you with that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you need to help me because my dad has helped me my whole life and you need to step up. I actually said that to him.
Yep.
That's right. Okay. He's like, yes, of course, because he's very posh. Of course, Chantal. I'm like, of course, my backside. Whatever. So, I'm there in Leeds and I'm waiting at the train station and the train comes in. And I remember my aunts in England, both my Jamaican and Nigerian aunts, he's probably going to bawl when he sees you because apparently he's very emotional. He's quite sensitive. They were all like, he's going to cry. So be prepared for this man to be crying, walking up the platform. I'm like, all right, bet. So I'm waiting for him. I see this person because remember, I haven't seen him since I was 18 months, right? Wow. So I see this person who I'm like, okay, well, they described him as a very pale Black man. I'm not going to use the word. They're like, look for a very pale Black man with red hair and freckles. I'm like, okay, fine. So I see this man and he's crying. I'm like, okay, so I guess that's my father. Fine.
He was crying?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they were all right. So he's walking towards me. He's like, oh, Chantal, I can't believe I'm seeing you after all these years. And I'm like, dude, you had ample opportunity, but okay. Mm-hmm. And he's bawling and I'm like, okay, so where shall we go? And he's like, I'm so sorry, but I can't stay. Imagine yourself on an island, starting your day drinking fresh coconut water, or swimming under the warm waterfalls after a hike, or even watching the pink sunset while you stretch into your final yoga pose. Join us for our retreat in Zanzibar this December or summer 2023 in St. Lucia. Find all our packages and plans at leboheme.com. Use the code Relateable to enjoy 20% off. Le Boheme Healthfulness Retreats will be the first week of your new life.
What?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. How you mean? Where you going?
So I was like, you can't stay. He's like, yes, I have to rush off to some meeting in London. So we can't, but I'll make sure I come and see you before you go back to Nevis or New York.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. So he's like, so what are you doing for university or college? And I said, well, my mom wants me to come back to England to go to university. I'm not too sure. I'm thinking of going to New York because I want to study film or communications. And I just feel that I would better do that in this day. He's like, well, wherever you choose to go, just know that I will pay for it. And I said, yes, you have to, because my mom and dad have paid for my existence up until this point, and you have not contributed. So I would very much prefer that you paid for my university. And he's like,
you said that to his face?
Yes, I did.
So glad.
Absolutely.
Bug life for true.
No bricks.
Okay. And he's like, absolutely. Because bear in mind, my father is a barrister.
Okay.
So he moved on from, I guess a barrister is in some ways an activist, depending. And he still is very much about community, just not his immediate community, as in his children. And so then I never heard back from him ever again.
You lie.
Chantal,
no, that's not
until
true.
Fiona, when he reached out to me again. Because
I know when he did, but I didn't understand that it was that long. So it was like
almost 20 years.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Absolutely. And then nothing.
He disappeared.
Sometimes I just prefer just don't say anything.
Yeah.
Just don't. Because even if it is like, when he said, I'll pay for everything, I'm like, But then at the same time, there is a small glimmer of hope.
Of course.
There's a little small ember in the ashes that you think are dead, just there when they said, of course I will. And then that little ember just starts to glow just a little bit.
Yes.
Well,
he did not.
Wow.
He definitely did not. I paid for university myself. Many years later, I put myself through university as an adult, as a mature student, and paid for it myself. Because again, I didn't think it was fair that, especially having my sisters to take care of, that my parents should be worrying about me. And especially as I was an adult by that point, because I finished my degree, I think I was around 32. Yeah, early 30s. I went back to uni and finished up. Since then, my biological father has made efforts to be in my life. At one point, I was not open to it. But through therapy, thank you, therapy, I decided to let go of any expectations of how our relationship would be formed and just kind of view it not as a father-daughter relationship, but more as two grown people making space for one another. And so I have done that. It has not been easy. We do not have a father-daughter relationship. We have a, let me check in on this person, make sure they're still alive kind of relationship.
Yeah.
You know, I acknowledge that there are many things in my DNA, good and bad, which I inherited from him. You know, I know that my love of community comes from both my biological parents and my stepdad. My love of reading, for sure, comes from my biological father and my mom. You know, there are many good things about him as a human being, not as a father, but as a human being, which I am grateful for. And there are many things which I have worked to dislodge from my own cellular memory that I don't want to have as a person, as a human navigating this world. And so I accept it for what it is. I accept it as him being a human being who does not know how to father and doesn't have the natural capacity to do so. You know, well, at least not father his children. My biological father does wonders for his community. And I have to say that. And he still is doing wonders for his community at his big old age. You know, he's in his late 70s and is still advocating and doing real tremendous work for his community. He just hasn't done that for me, my sister, or my brother, you know, and I thank God for my stepfather. So although even our relationship, I think we have regained a closeness now because I have been in Nevis with just him since February, right? And so that's been good. It's been good for us to reconnect. It's been good to just have him and have him father me because that's what he's been doing. You know, like I said, if I may just be on a call and he overhears me saying, Lord, I haven't had any coconut water yet since I reached, bam, the next day, coconut water. Like he heard me say, I really want to make a breadfruit salad. Let me call Uncle Frederick. Before I could even call Uncle Frederick, boom, breadfruit in the house. You know, the way that he loves my plant-based meals. When he called my mom after I was here for a few weeks, man, Vanessa, when you come home, I don't want to meet you now. Because Shani does make some vegan things here. But he's been that way with me since I was a child. If I recommend one thing to this man, that's it. He's converting. I came home and I think I mentioned this. I must have been around 11. No, maybe a little older, maybe 13, 14. And I said, do you know that white flour is bleached flour? We shouldn't be eating that. From that day, my dad has never bought white bread. From that day to now, he only buys whole wheat bread. Right? There was this thing.
I remember you saying he kept everything you gave him.
Yeah.
I remember you saying that.
All my
he kept
little
all the little cards, all the little notes, everything.
Everything I gave him as a child as a present, he still has. I remember when he started to go bald. Do you guys remember Icy Hot? Do you remember Icy Hot?
Yes.
That's the left.
Right. So there was Icy Hot for the body and like a hair grease version that apparently would grow back your hair, right? So I passed by this beauty store on my way home from school and I see this thing that says it will grow back your hair. I was like, oh, okay. When I go home, I'm going to tell Wellington about this. So I did. That man went out and bought that thing. And even though clearly it was not growing back his hair, right? This man continued to use that thing until he went completely bald and don't have no hair to use him.
But you know what it shows?
You know? Yeah.
He listens to you.
Yeah, he does. He does.
And that's a big deal because parents can be there for you and not listen to nothing you say or don't respect your opinions at all.
Yeah.
You know, so they could maybe they buy all the things and pay this for you and that for you, but don't listen. And so I think that's a big thing that he actually, and that he listened and he valued your opinion.
Yes.
You know, I think that's a big, big, big deal.
It's a big deal. It's a very big deal, Fiona. And so when I say, you know, I said at the beginning of my sharing that my relationship with fathers is complicated. You know, these are the reasons. My biological father just cannot father, does not have the capabilities. My dad has the capabilities and has fathered me, but it is still different to the way that he fathers his biological children, you know, and that is my truth. And that is the truth. And as I said, it's not, I don't doubt his love for me at all, at all. But there is a difference in the connection. And sometimes it's painfully obvious. And I say painfully because it hurts. I don't use that, you know, to flower my language. I say painfully because it hurts. Because my heart sees him as my father. He's the only true father, really, that I have known. And so when I sense the differences, you know, I think there was a conversation which may have meant nothing to him, but which still stays with me. I may have been around 15 or 16, and we were in town together, and, you know, he'd gone to the bank or something. And someone came out and said, "Oh, Wellington, is that your daughter?" And he said, "No, that's Vanessa's daughter."
Wow.
I don't know why he said that, but as a teenager, that was like someone put a knife through my heart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I'd never heard him deny me as being his daughter before. And so I then started to question, well, is that how he thinks of me, as Vanessa's daughter? Right? And as I said, it could have, maybe there was a reason for that particular clarification. I don't know. But as a stepchild, these are things that stick with you. Right? But then flash forward a few years later, I came home to visit one year. And I think one of my friends from England came with me, and we were leaving and we're at the pier. And I may have been like 33 or so. And we were saying goodbye. And, you know, my dad doesn't hug. He doesn't hug his wife. He doesn't hug his biological children. He doesn't hug. And he hugged me. And he said, "I love you, Shani." And I almost fall off the pier into the water. Because I had to look around. I said, "Wait, woman?" Because he does no. He doesn't say these things. He does not say these things. Right? And so it's, you know, me as being a child of two fathers, it's me actually having to understand where my expectations come from, and also understand that these two men are two human beings. And there is no crib notes on how to be a father, but one definitely did better than the other. Boy. That's for sure. That's it, guys.
That's Chantal, I'm listening to you and my heart is full because I, like you, my girls have, well, a biological father and a stepfather.
Right.
And it makes a lot of sense when my middle child, Jade, funny enough, when Jade was, when I met my ex-husband, Jade was a year and a half. And that's all Jade knew. That's the person she knows as her father. And then when she got to a certain age, I think she was 15 or 14, somewhere around there, she said to my ex-husband, we were already separated, I think. We were already separated. And she said to him, "Can you adopt me?"
Oh.
She just wanted, and not adopt her as in to go live with him or anything. She just wanted him to officially be her father.
Yes.
And
I get it.
And I'm listening to you now and I'm thinking, wow, you know, my girls don't have a relationship with their biological dad again because he chose not to be part of their lives. And then for Jade to reach that point where one time she said she has a sperm donor and she has a father.
Amen. I get it.
Understand? And so it really does make me think, wow, you know, how is it going to affect them? I know Haley has mentioned, because both my girls studied psychology, and Haley did mention one time, Mommy, I know I have daddy issues. I know I will have daddy issues. I know the men I invite into my life. I know. And she kept going on and on about it. And it's just that they are aware of this.
Absolutely. And I'm happy that they have that awareness, though, because it helps.
Yes, they do. And it's not a question for them why they behave in certain ways and stuff. They know the cause of it. But on the flip side of that, I know Jade for a fact. Jade will tell you straight up, she has a dad. I have a father.
Absolutely.
Tony is my father. And like you, they never called him daddy or uncle. They called him Tony.
Right.
Okay, but that's my father. Yeah, that's and I know he loves them. I know he loves them. But again, the way he is with Lucas, it's different. I'm not going to say it's different. They know that Lucas is his child.
Yes.
But they also know that that's our dad. That's the man who raised us and did everything for us.
Yes.
So it's really like it. I don't know. I'm listening to you, and all I'm seeing is my girls.
Aww.
And I'm wondering, I'm now thinking, you know, is that how they feel?
Probably. Probably, Showing. You know, I'm not alone. I'm not the only stepchild in the world.
Not the only stepchild at all. And I remember speaking to Fiona. I'm saying, as a stepchildren have it, they can have it hard. Because they know you're not my dad, but at the same time, they want that dad. They want that closeness. They want that relationship. They want that discipline. They want that person to step up for them. And my girls were blessed to have found that. And you were blessed, Chantal, to have found somebody, because we know how some step parents could be. Some step parents could be real animals. Okay.
Very much so.
So you were lucky.
I am still, you know, I count my blessings, because even now, like, my dad wants to run to defend me. We have a neighbor who is quite volatile. And he made the mistake of wanting to square up to me. And first of all,
me don't know about Hurricane Shani, man. The levitation, I don't know who he, anyways. He don't know. Right? It's not his fault. You don't know.
It's not his fault, right? So first of all, you're squaring up to the wrong person, eh? Okay? Anyway, and then I mentioned it to my dad. Lord of mercy. He jumped on the phone calling the police, eh? And when I heard it on the phone, you know, this interfere with my daughter and you know? So when I say that I know he's my father, like, look, me, big age, 49, and he's still trying to defend me in his big old age. And he is not the only man, but the only father that has done that for me. Yep. And so it's so complicated, because yet there is this little space, right? There's this little space but I don't know how it feels to have like a biological father. I don't know how it feels. And I will always wonder if it's different, because I don't know. And that's what it does to you. Yeah, I don't know if my connection with my stepdad, you know, if I would have had this connection with my biological father, if it would have been different. I don't know, because I have nothing to compare it to.
Yeah.
And so there's always going to be that question, like, is it different? Is it different? And that's the part, you know, Father's Day is difficult for me, hands down. Yeah. It's difficult. It's very challenging. It's emotionally heavy for me. And that's my story. I love Father's Day. I love that fathers are celebrated, that they should be celebrated every day. But the fact that they have this special, I love seeing people with their fathers, especially our Black children.
Yeah.
I love seeing them have fathers who are involved, who are caring, who are bringing joy and love into their lives and nurturing and helping to nurture them. I love seeing that celebration, but it also makes me sad because there will always be that question, like,
and that void.
Yeah, the void. And that's the perfect word, Shaween.
Yeah.
Because people might say, oh, you're being so ungrateful. I'm like, ungrateful? No, mate.
You're not
you
being
have
ungrateful.
No idea.
You just want to, you understand? Like,
yeah, very much so. But I am extremely grateful. I don't know who I would have been without Mr. Wellington Paris. I don't know how I would have fared this world. When I first moved back to England and just thinking back to some of his little sayings that he has that would then just make me laugh. So, when you first move to the UK, it's a struggle in every way. And I would know that I could pick up that phone and call Mr. Wellington Paris, my father, my dad, and say, I am struggling. I know that I could call him and say this to him. And his first question would be, how can I help? And he's done that many times over in different ways and not just financially. But, I was really ill in 2014 and didn't realize at the time that I had walking pneumonia, right? And then I called him one day from work and he said, how are you doing? And I said, you know what? I'm not very well, Wellington. I said, I have been struggling. I've been in bed for this number of weeks, And I said, I'm just really not well. And he said, come home. He said, come home, Shani, come home. And that was, for me as an adult, the first time I've actually ever listened to my parents. And I went home. And he said to me, please know, you always have somewhere to go. Wherever you are in the world, you can come home.
I think to have somebody say, come home.
Okay.
I think that in itself just encompasses what parenthood is, that you can always say to somebody that they have a home to come back to.
Yes. And he has
no matter
what. And he has reiterated that over and over and over again. And even when he made me and my sisters laugh. When both my sisters, they both own homes, they bought their homes. And his first question to them was, is there a room for Shani? Y'all have another room for your sister in the house? That was his question.
Yeah.
Do you have a room for your sister in your house? Can you imagine? So how is this not my father?
Exactly. And that's what I keep saying. I'm going to keep saying, yes, he's not biological, but girl, you're blessed. You are blessed. And
very.
Kind of bittersweet, but at the same time,
At the
same time, I choose to look at it as the glass is half full, rather empty. What you missed out on with the biological father, I think you've gained a lot more with Mr. Paris. And Mr. Paris, I thank you. I thank you for the love and the affection, because again, a lot of children will tell you step parents are horrible. You have to learn to be a parent, and especially because that was he's never had an encounter with a child. So he had to learn to be a parent without having that emotional connection biological parents would have. Yeah. So,
Gold stars
all the way.
So Fiona and Shaween, thank you for being so gracious and understanding of me wanting to go first in this daddy-daughter trilogy.
I like that. Daddy-daughter trilogy.
My response when we said we were going to do this was like, I'm going to go first. I want to get it out of the way. And Shaween was like, yes, rip off the bandage. Rip it off. I'm like, oh God. So I'm happy. I'm happy that I've managed to speak about my complicated, twisting and turning relationship with my two fathers. And I do acknowledge them both, because without the biological father, I wouldn't exist. Exactly. But also without my stepfather and his nurturing, I also wouldn't exist. Mm-hmm. So they worked. There was alignment, right? And there is alignment. And of course, you guys know how important my Jamaican heritage is to me. Having that Jamaican heritage is also something that I'm very proud of, and wouldn't have that if it weren't for Prince Emmanuel Miller. Such a Jamaican name, Prince. Yep. Prince Emmanuel Miller and Wellington Llewellyn Paris. Come on. Is there any doubt I am a child of Caribbean? Caribbean Oh, my life. So thank you. And next week, I am very much looking forward to Fiona's journey with her dad. I know what Fiona's dad means to her. So I can't wait for her to share that with y'all. I want to know, what is bringing you joy? And you know I have caveats, Fiona.
Okay.
You know what your caveat. And I know I don't, but I will repeat myself just in case there's someone listening who this may be the first episode that they're listening to, right? So my caveat, no.
Okay, fine.
My caveat with Fiona is she cannot speak of Jariah when it comes to sharing her Jariah or her partner. Okay? So what is bringing you joy outside? Because we know that your partner and Jariah bring you joy. So that's a given, right? That's a given. So what else are you tapping into right now, Miss Fee?
What is going to give me joy is tomorrow when the temperature drops 10 degrees.
Oh, Lord.
Me and showing hair dripping. Okay. It is hot. I think it's just that. I think what's bringing me joy is, like I said earlier on, is like doing the globe.
Okay.
It's nice to see this collaboration of a vision. It's like a combined collaboration with the same purpose or goal, to have Haley and I work together to create something that is a very St. Lucian story. And, I'm just happy that a lot of people are going to get to see Haley's work, because Haley is an amazing artist.
Yes.
And I think my frustration is that not enough people get to see her brilliance.
Okay.
And I'm just excited to see. And she's been working really hard, really hard. And I'm very proud of her. And I want her to be celebrated. I want her artistic genius to be celebrated. So I think that's what's making me happy. But on a side note, I'm throwing this in anyway to say that Jariah smashed his sats. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right.
All right. I'll allow that. It was a good one.
Okay.
So, so to the new listeners, my son does have high functioning autism. And when he was diagnosed when he was 3, they said a whole bunch of things of what he couldn't do. And he'd have difficulties with this and difficulties with that. And, when he got his SATs results, I gave him the whole speech. Don't worry, I love you no matter what. Sure, we'd almost choke. And you know what? No matter what, I'm proud of you. And all of them kind of thing. Because everybody knows how smart Jariah is, but you just don't know how they're going to perform on the day. And you know that all of these institutions measure through tests. Even though they don't say, oh, it doesn't matter and whatever, they still measure and judge a child through that. Yes, and that's the way of the world, right?
Right.
And I was just so nervous. And then he got like some of like the highest grades. He surpassed the national average in most of his subjects. And like in some of them, it's like the highest grade is like 120 and he got like 113, 117.
I mean.
So I'm over the moon. So I deserve that one. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Anyway.
I give you that one. Okay. Well done, Jariah. Auntie Shani is very, very proud. Extremely.
We're all proud of him. We're all really, really proud of him.
So Sherween, my love, what is bringing you joy?
Let me tell you something. You know what's bringing me? I'll be honest.
Okay.
As much as Fiona said about the sun, I moan about the sun, how hot it is. I must be honest, yeah. I hate the winter. I really, really hate winter. And this sun, even though it's like too hot, it's like way too hot, but it is actually uplifting my spirits. You understand? The sun, the heat, it is uplifting my spirits, making me feel a bit crap, but it's still uplifting my spirits because you know what? I'm getting that vitamin D I've missed for all these months. And the last time I did a blood test, they said to me, I am deficient in vitamin D. So I'm very thankful for the sun. It is bringing me some joy. We all know what a vitamin D brings to us, what it does to us. So I'm very thankful for it, even though, but yeah, it's still not very nice. But anyway, it's bringing me some joy. Okay. What else is bringing me joy this week? I discovered this guy called Issa Music. A nice little Rasta Jamaican fella again.
Surprising. Oh my
God.
Oh my goodness. Likes a Rasta man singing music.
Oh my God.
Hemi Shoween likes a Rasta man like him
blow me over
doing
with
reggae.
feather.
Shocking.
I'm sorry. And he's very young as well. So it's not a crush. It is just me enjoying his music and enjoying watching him perform, enjoying
Here we go.
Yeah, just enjoying it. Esau, I will tag him.
Chantal, this is the next one. Shaween cannot talk about no Rasta men singing reggae music, but what brings her joy.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah? Next caveat. Okay, then.
Just no Rasta men, full stop.
Point blank period.
Okay, Rastas, you can DM Shaween, all right? Or DM Relatable if you'd like to reach out. But she's not going to talk about y'all anymore. Okay?
No, that's it. Over. Done.
The voice. It's just like, yes. Hello. So that's what's been bringing me joy. I've been really enjoying the music, cooling out outside from about 9 o'clock in the evening, you know, when the sun go down and I have my little tunes on and this guy is just, it's like, wow, how I didn't know about you before. Okay. You know, so he's been bringing me a lot of joy when I'm outside drinking my beer and enjoying other things. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, but I'll tag him. I'll put it in there in the notes.
In the show notes.
Yes. All right. That's been bringing me joy. What about you, Chantal? Have we done you?
No.
What about you? What brought you joy?
Okay. So 2 things. I'll speak on 2 things. Well, actually 3. Okay. So the first thing is that I facilitated my first workshop for a summer camp in St. Kitts on a Friday. And this summer camp was created by the founder of Sugartown Organics, which is a lovely skincare and wellness brand. And the young lady reached out to me and asked me to facilitate a workshop to fit in with her program on creative entrepreneurship. So she's running this 2-3 week summer camp for young people. It's based on creative entrepreneurship. And so my workshop was on Friday, and it was centered on wellness, brand communication, and I've forgotten the other thing. But it was just so it was hot, I need to say, because St. Kitts heat is different to Nevis heat, right? So it was hot. And even though it was in the countryside in St. Kitts and there's a beautiful breeze, it was still hot. Oh my God. But the time that I spent with these young people, so awesome. And they ranged in age from, I want to say 6 to 16. So very huge, like huge differences, right? And I'm like thinking, how am I going to keep all of these kids engaged for how many hours? Oh my goodness. But I did.
Of course
and
you did.
It was wonderful. And the children, we had so much fun. I can't even. And then the food,
how was the food? How was the food? How we heard the food was amazing. How was the food?
I'm wondering if it's the food you want to talk about, or the person that served the food. I'm like, why is she so hurried for me to talk about? And I'm thinking, oh, I know why. So anyway, guys, to y'all that are listening, it was a lovely organic plant-based meal from this wonderful restaurant called the Coal Pot in St. Kitts. And it's all sustainable, locally sourced produce, all plant-based. And the owner and he's also one of the chefs, dropped off the food. And the reason why Sherwin wants me to speak about this. Going back to Fiona.
Did he happen to be a Rastaman?
Going back to Fiona's ban on Sherwin. Yes. The proprietor and the chef is Rastafarian. Sherwin is in heaven.
I'll be in Nevis in 6 weeks.
That's all I can say. That's all I can say, right? And so going back to the person, Anastasia, who is the owner of Sugartown Organics, when she asked me for my fee, I was like, product. She was like, what? I said, product. She said, you don't want any money? I said, no, I want your products. Because she does the most amazing products. Like, hello, I was probably going to spend the money on her products anyway, right? And she said, oh my God, that's such a good idea. So I came back over to Nevis with a bag filled with beautiful organic skincare products.
Nice.
She makes these vegan salad dressings. She makes candles. I was like, that's right. And those things are bringing me the most joy right now. Nothing is better than lighting a hand-poured soy and coconut wax candle, which has the most beautiful aromas and there's flowers. And instead of the wick that she's used is a wooden wick, so it makes that crackling sound as if you're in front of an open fire. I mean,
I would take that over the money too. Yeah, I would take it. I would take that.
And then I can talk about her products and her brand and pay it forward, right? And so it's all about, it comes back to building that ecosystem, which is so important to us as Relatable, and even outside the work that we all do outside of Relatable. It is about building and tapping into our own ecosystem. So yeah, man. So that's bringing me great, great, great joy. And of course, being here with my parents, seeing my grandfather, so happy that his eldest child, Vanessa, is here and he's getting to see her. And my mom we have very different energies, but my mom is, her energy is very exuberant and she's loud and she laughs. And, like I said, she's a person that would pass by my window and moon me. Like that is my mother. So that's bringing me a lot of joy as well. So yeah, that's it for me on the joy.
Wonderful. So this week under the mango tree, we take you, just imagine how we used to wash clothes before washing machine, before all the technology and thing. I don't know about some of our listeners, but I know how I used to wash my clothes when I was a little girl, and when I had a nanny or somebody who used to come and take care of me when I was little. And I remember sitting with her outside, and she used to have this massive bucket in front of her with all different clothes, and she used to sit down and we used to talk and laugh. And she used to wash the clothes by hand. Can you remember the sound? Well, this week under the mango tree, we're taking you right back there. Enjoy.
So, all right, guys, that is a wrap for our first episode of our Daddy, Daughter, Daddy Issues trilogy. This episode, of course, is sponsored by Indigo Online and Le Bohème. So thank you to our sponsors for making this episode possible. And don't forget, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, Google Play, Acast. In fact, all of the amazing podcast platforms that are out there. Listen to us, rate us, review us. Don't just DM us. Tell the world how you feel about us. Because remember, when you rate and review on the platforms, that pushes our podcast a little further up in the searches for people that are looking for Caribbean woman talking things content, because that's what we are and that's what we do. We love you guys so much. For those of you in the UK experiencing the heat wave, drink your water and mind your business. Hey, thank you for listening. And remember, a shared journey
brings hope.
Bye. Relatable, because a shared journey brings hope.